On various social issues in the past. He wore a hoodie along with the rest of the Miami Heat team after Trayvon Martin's death and an I Can't Breathe t-shirt in honor of Eric Gardner last week. He was asked about another social issue that hit close to home. A grand jury declining to charge a Cleveland patrolman who fatally shot 12-year-old Tamir Rice back in 2014. Here's what he had to say. For me, I've always been a guy who's took pride in knowledge of every situation that I've ever spoke on. And to be honest, I haven't really been on top of this issue, so it's hard for me to comment. I understand that any lives that are lost, what we want more than anything is prayer and the best for the family, for anyone. But for me to comment on the situation, I don't have enough knowledge about it. This response disappointed Tamir Rice's mother, who appeared on News 1 Now with Roland Martin.
It's quite sad that LeBron haven't spoke out about my son. I'm not asking him to sit out a game. I know his kids got to eat too, but you can at least put a shirt on or something. Some of the other athletes, some of them been saying something, some of them haven't. I think they should just make a statement. You know, I'm not asking nobody to quit their job or anything, but make a statement for us black people out here. You know what I'm saying?
Stephen A., what's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is, to be quite honest with you, first of all, my heart goes out to Tamir Rice. He's and his family. He's 12 years old, and he's gone. And obviously, that is a mother who is mourning the loss of her child. And so we have to address that with the level of sensitivity that it deserves, because for anybody out there who's lost a child, who's lost a loved one, period, it's a devastating blow. And we understand that. Having said all of that, it doesn't make her right. And in this particular instance, I think calling out LeBron James was not only wrong, but incredibly, incredibly unfair. LeBron James is one of those athletes who has not been shy about addressing sensitive issues with the level of sensitivity it deserves. When Trayvon Martin was gunned down, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, and the entire roster on the Miami Heat all wore hoodies to bring attention to that situation, like you just articulated. When Eric Garner lost his life after being suffocated in Staten Island, what happened then? LeBron James, Derrick Rose, and so many others wore I Can't Breathe t-shirts, bringing attention to that issue. On numerous occasions throughout his career, LeBron has spoke out about the plight of the black community as it pertains to violence and how things need to be addressed. And so in this particular instance, she wants him to come forward and do that involving her son. And he openly admitted that he wasn't extremely knowledgeable about the case. Well, others are, others that I have spoken to. And certainly there are things that need to be addressed. I just got off the phone, Skip, with one of my dearest friends in the world, Karen Hunt, who's got her own show on Sirius XM. It's a Pulitzer Prize winner, a best-selling author. She's got her own radio show, on an Urban View, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day. She and I go back more than 25 years. She's like a big sister to me. And she's obviously on top of stuff like this. And she and I were talking about it. And there are legitimate concerns about the case, because the kid was 12 years old and he was shot. However, we've read the Facebook post from our friend, here at ESPN, when he wrote about, that's right, Robert Smith, when he wrote about how, you've got to take all of the information into consideration. Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old. He was carrying a gun, a fake pistol. It was called an airsoft replica gun resembling a semi-automatic weapon. Now, the police officer who shot him, some guy named Timothy Lohman, he was a police officer in training, okay? And at that particular moment, there's no excuse to me how you could get out and just start shooting, because they discovered that he started shooting within 2 seconds. And to me, the prosecutor should be brought to bear, because prosecutor Tim McGinty decided to advise the grand jury not to press charges. Basically, it was his decision. Hey, I don't think we should press charges. And all the black community is asking for is to at least investigate the matter and look into it and let it go to a jury. Let the investigation continue forward. Let's find out indeed what truly happened. But if you're LeBron James, how in God's name are you supposed to decipher all of that? You're a law-abiding citizen. You recognize the violence that exists within the black community. You recognize that some officers are black, some officers are Hispanic. You recognize that by and large, there are police officers who go out there doing their job every day, and the transgressions of a few shouldn't taint an entire institution of law enforcement officials. If you're LeBron James, you have to be responsible enough to take those things into consideration, which is exactly what he did. Not only that, the FBI investigated. They had their video surveillance. That was thrown into the equation. You also have to remember that the FBI answers to an attorney general who happens to be black, the 83rd attorney general nominated in the United States. Her name is Loretta Lynch. She answers to a president who happens to be black. So you've got all of this going on. LeBron takes all of that into consideration. He's going by what he heard, but at the same time, he's recognizing that there are still things that are coming out, and he pauses for a second to say, I don't know. More importantly, I can't comment on everything. Those weren't his words. I'm saying that. He can't comment on everything because in the end, he's a basketball player. He's an elite athlete. He has his feelings. He has his emotions. He certainly has his sensitivities. And for somebody who is black, I am here to tell you, he has conveyed that on many occasions publicly. So as much as I respect and am sensitive to what the mother of Tamir Rice is trying to say in terms of bringing attention to a particular cause that obviously is near and dear to her heart. And we all understand and empathize and sympathize with her unconscionable pain. To call out LeBron James, of all people, considering how conscientious this brother is when he clearly doesn't have to be because he is doing just fine, I think was wrong. He does not deserve that. LeBron James has more than showed the appropriate level of sensitivity on a bevy of issues permeating our community throughout his career. I'm proud of him. Most people should be proud of him. And for her to say that about him, I just thought was wrong and beyond the pale. She had no business doing that. I'm sorry.
Stephen A., I'm just going to defer to you on this one. As I often tell you, I wouldn't for 1 second pretend to know how you feel about this kind of issue or how LeBron James should feel about this type of issue or how, God only knows, this mother of this 12-year-old feels about this issue. I can't even fathom remotely the agony this woman is feeling over the loss of her 12-year-old and the circumstances under which it happened. I hurt for her in the only way I know how, from a distance. And I don't blame her for what she said. Emotions spill everywhere when these things happen. And yet, in the end, all I know about LeBron James is that I have nothing but respect for the stances he has taken off the basketball court. He has a long history of looking before he leaps. And when he has made strong statements, much stronger statements and stances than, dare I say, Michael Jordan ever dared to take ahead of him, he always comes from a position of knowledge and strength on every issue he takes a bold stance on. I don't know why he didn't take a stance here, Stephen A. I don't know, because I don't know enough about the case. I try to follow it from a distance. I defer to you. I defer to my very close friend, Robert Smith. You mentioned his very powerful Facebook opinion that he posted. Powerful. Yeah, and I'll just read in concluding, Robert said that it's BS for people to call out black athletes, black celebrities like LeBron James for not, quote unquote, speaking out when that person might not know the details, or even worse, in some people's minds, might not or might consider it a tragedy, but not a crime? Was it just a tragedy, or was it a crime? I don't know enough to know. Maybe you don't know enough to know. Maybe nobody knows enough to know.
I don't.
It was definitely a tragedy. Maybe it was a crime. But maybe LeBron just isn't sure enough to take that big of a stand to even wear a T-shirt supporting Tamir Rice. Go ahead.
Well, let's be clear. Let's be clear. First of all, I appreciate your sentiment, Skip. Thank you very much. Let's be clear about something here. It is a struggle because on one hand, it's a 12-year-old kid who is dead because he was shot by a police officer, particularly during a time, because this happened on November 22nd, 2014, particularly during a time where you have a nation of black folks lamenting the state of affairs that exists between some police officers and unarmed black men, and here was a young black boy. You even had people that were credibly offended because they brought into the equation, the prosecutors and others, that the boy was 5'7", about 175 pounds. So even though he was 12 years old, he didn't look like a boy. I can't speak for LeBron because I did not speak to LeBron about this. But I can tell you personally, the one element that does give me cause to pause, although in no way do I believe a police officer should just get out of his car and shoot inside of 2 seconds. Let me also be clear that the kid having a toy gun that resembles a semi-automatic weapon would give some of us cause to pause. Because a police officer has to make a decision in a split second. And this wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, this wasn't a police officer because it says he was a police officer in training. Now, he was accompanied by the police officer who is training him, some guy by the name of Frank Garmbach. But Garmbach wasn't the one who shot the kid. It was the officer in training, Loman, who actually did. So if you're LeBron, you may or may not know that, but even if you did know all of that, it would give you cause to pause because you're asking yourself, okay, a police officer making a decision inside of a split second, oh my God, that could happen because that police officer may have felt in danger if the kid is pulling from his waist or whatever. The flip side to it, as my girl Karen Hunter highlighted, was that, okay, well, then why can't we investigate it further? Because usually a prosecutor is quick to tell a grand jury to move forward, and then you can have a trial because she highlighted the fact, Skip, that when Trayvon Martin got shot, even though we were all appalled by the verdict of the wannabe cop who shot him, there were no riots in the streets or anything like that. Why? Because the process took place where there was a trial, he was judged by his peers, and ultimately he was found not guilty. As much as the black community didn't like it, at least the process took place, whereas it pertains to this officer, some would argue that did not happen. So you have different arguments, but in the end, none of that has anything to do with LeBron James, the basketball player who's paid to play basketball, who still took it upon himself to speak on a bevy of issues that would positively affect the black community on too many occasions, even for Tamir Rice's mom to call him out on this. I respect her emotions. She's a mother who lost a child. My heart goes out to her sincerely. But LeBron James is the wrong dude to call out on this. She was wrong, period.
All right, we'll leave it there. And I want to echo your sentiments there, Stephen A. and Skip, that our heart goes out to the Rice family. Make sure to catch LeBron tonight. It's NBA Friday, presented by State Farm on ESPN. The Cavs take on the T-Wolves at 8 Eastern. Then at 10:30, the Thunder square off against the Lakers. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown, charged by Dew at 7:30 on ESPN. And both games are streaming live on the Watch ESPN and ESPN app. When we come back, it's been quite a run for Cam. Most have crowned him the MVP this year, but not everyone thinks he's the best quarterback in the